Welcome to the Positive Persistence Podcast, where ordinary people inspire your extraordinary success. Hey, what's up, family? Our guest today is a cancer survivor, motivational speaker, and advocate for resilience through joy and mindset. After a life-changing diagnosis, she transformed her path by embracing positivity, laughter, and intentional living. She uses her own powerful story of overcoming adversity, including homelessness, to inspire others to face challenges with courage and hope. She shares practical tools for tapping into her inner strength and cultivating lasting happiness. Alexi, Bracey, welcome to the show.
Well, thank you. I'm really looking forward to this. It's delightful.
Well, Alexi, since the first time we spoke, I know that I've been more interested in diving into your story and tapping into that persistent happiness and positivity that you have. So before we kind of get into everything, I was hoping you could give us a little backstory about what makes your story so incredible, specifically speaking about your cancer diagnosis.
Well, I guess the cancer diagnosis was the start. I just knew when I had that phone call that I was going to beat it. I had no idea how, but there was no doubt in my mind that I was going to be a victor, and I was. I made a few lifestyle changes, definitely resilience at the forefront. In a year's time, I was cancer free, and then people heard about it, and because I was a chef, and so so I switched from a traditional chef to a plant-based chef, and people heard about it, and they wanted to know. And so I did continue further studies, and then I started helping a lot of people with their health challenges, primarily cancer, through holistic eyes. Along the way, I was always optimistic. I never once felt sorry for myself. I don't know whether that's a gene thing or what. I just persevering. I'm going to do it. Like, pardon my French, come hell or high water, I'm going to do it. I started freelancing as a chef, and I used to work, besides clients, I used to work at remote fishing lodges in northern Canada for 2 to 4 months through the summer. The more remote, the more I liked it, because I like to see, the skylight and the moon, and listen to the ducks quacking and the waves crashing against the shore. I just liked that solitude, that quietness. And I was working at a fishing lodge for 4 summers, the same lodge, and 90% of their guests were repeats. We're now bringing their grandsons. They've been coming for many years.
I want to make sure that our listeners and viewers understand everything about your amazing story, because you talked about you were diagnosed with cancer. And the first thing that you said was that you knew you were going to beat it. And then you talked about how you were cancer free in a year, because most people who get that diagnosis, who get that information, they get that phone call from their doctor that says, I'm sorry to tell you that you have cancer. The first thought in their mind isn't, well, I'm going to beat this thing. Usually it's, what do I do now? Or this is a death sentence. So why do you think that you weren't the latter, that you were positive from the get-go and just thought that, you know what, I'm going to beat this thing?
It was probably one friend that I had just met, because I had just moved to the west coast of Canada. The raw food movement was a big item. It had come up from California, and I was a traditional chef, so I just switched hats to a raw food chef. And then did a lot of research, and I learned that your home environment, your toxins that you wash, that you wear, that you eat, that you sleep on, play an important role. And so I changed all those to healthier ones. And then, because mindset was really important too, like the saying goes, if you think you can, you're right. If you think you can't, you're also right.
Yes.
So I had a group of new friends come over one afternoon, and we focused on Marianne Williamson's Return to Love meditation, and we prayed. And so I always kept those 3 things in the back of my mind as I was progressing on my journey: the food, the toxins, the mindset. What really catapulted me to get a positive outcome. It wasn't just, I wasn't sitting around, there's nothing wrong with focusing and believing, because many people have results as a result of only that. But I took more action into what I believed at the time that I learned were cancer causing agents our lifestyle habits, and it still stands today. People have poor lifestyle habits. That's why, the rise in cancer, heart disease, and all the other health challenges.
And you were able to get to your cancer-free diagnosis without radiation, without chemo. Is that right?
That is correct. Yeah. Once I had the diagnosis, I never had any contact with the doctor ever again. Until I had to go tested just to see what the status was. And that's when I learned that I was cancer free.
Yeah. I mean, that is amazing. I think most people will say that's a miracle, but I feel like you would say it's not. It's just the action that I took. Like you said, the food, the toxins, and the mindset. Would you say that's right?
Yes, that's right.
And so really paying attention to what you're putting in your body, also paying attention to what you're putting, I guess, on your body in terms of clothing, what you're sleeping on, what you're washing with, those types of things. And then having that positive mindset of, I just know that I'm going to beat this thing.
That's right. It's about a positive mindset raises your body's frequency. And so you want to vibrate at a higher frequency according to, the work done by Dr. Hawkins. So, happiness, joy, good health vibrates at a higher frequency. Anger, resentment, disease vibrates at a lower frequency. So it was all about that positive mindset, that high vibration. And so that's why my mindset was really instrumental, because I really firmly believe there was no doubt in my mind. There was no like, oh, well, what if this doesn't work? Or what? I mean, there was no negative, no doubt in my mind ever. I just knew I was going to beat it.
Let's talk about mindset a little bit, especially when it comes to physical actions. Like how important was it that you had your mindset along with the physical actions that you were taking in overcoming your adversity? As you were talking about having those higher vibrations from that positive mindset, were there days where some doubt crept in? Were there days
No.
where you had some limiting self-beliefs, or were you just able to focus on being positive the entire time?
Really, no different effort on my mind. I just knew I was going to beat it. And it was just daily steps to get the desired outcome. Good mental, emotional, and physical food, I guess you could say.
Right. Well, I think it was Socrates that said, let food be thy medicine. So that is
That's right.
right
That
up
is
your alley
medicine.
for sure. Now, you said after your chef career changed. I'm curious, how did you go from being like a raw food chef to all of a sudden working in fish camps in Alaska?
I switched from raw to just plant-based because, people on the East Coast are generally more progressive with the new trends that are happening. Whereas, I had moved back to Ontario, and when it's minus 20 degrees outside, you want a hot bowl of soup, not a cold bowl of soup.
Sure.
And then when I introduced raw food, people went, raw food, what is that? So then I just switched to plant-based because it was more acceptable and people didn't think it was like too woo-woo. And so then, instrumental at this one fishing lodge for 4 summers, I learned that I had the gift to bring laughter to people's lives through jokes. So like during dinner time, I'm not going to talk to them about fishing. So I started telling jokes. And so when the fishermen saw me coming back the next year, because they were the same guys, they'd say, oh, Alexi, do you have any jokes? And so that's when I started accumulating jokes. And then I learned that I had that gift to bring laughter to people's lives through jokes at the dog park, at the grocery store, at the ATM machine, because everybody's going through some kind of loss, grief, trauma, and laughter has been shown to promote longevity, lowers cortisol, raises serotonin and dopamine, the feel-good hormones in your brain, and everybody could use a little smile on their face.
That's true. Everybody could. And I believe that it's part of your mantra, which is incredible because even after your chef career ended, you faced financial hardship. You faced homelessness. Yep. You kept sharing joy through jokes. Tell us a little bit about that span in your journey, about facing that financial hardship, facing that homelessness, but still being able to put a smile on your face and helping other people find humor and laughter, even though you were in what some consider a dark place.
I don't know. It was just natural. I took a quiz actually too and learned that bringing one of my life's purposes was to bring joy. And so hence, a perfect fit with the jokes. And I took a Happy for No Reason training program where the focus is what gives happiness to people, and it's joy, kindness, gratitude, love. And so it was a perfect fit for me. And then I started doing short videos, daily videos on social media, Resilient Joy Boost, just giving people ideas on how to incorporate and bring more joy, not only to their lives, but to people around them. So, like, for example, what are you grateful for besides the food on the table? There's so many other things you can be grateful for. It's for your health, that you have a bed to sleep in, that you have family, that you have pets, that you have a job. There's just so much that we take for granted. Gratitude in ways people don't think about. Like, when you smile at somebody walking down the street, it makes them feel seen. You say thank you as opposed to thanks. It's not a flippant, it's just like you took the time to acknowledge the person. Instead of saying have a good day, which to me is just too generic, I'll say, well, I hope your day is filled of beautiful smiles. I hope your day opens up beautiful opportunities. Just give people food for thought than just to think, have a good day. How can I have a good day and make other people's day a little better? So how it really started is I used to put joy into people's tummies through my food at the fishing lodges. And now I put joy into people's lives and their spirit, their mental capacity, the way they think. So it's still joy. I went from food to spirit, it's still joy. And I love sharing jokes because, and you never know how a joke, a kind act, a thank you, whatever can change a person's life. And sometimes you never will. That's not the point. I do it because it feeds my soul and I love it when people smile. So like a really easy example is when somebody holds the door open for me if I'm going into the store, I always ask, is your mother still alive? And most times they'll say yes. And so I'll say, well, tell her she's done a good job. They smile. When the mother hears this, she's going to smile. And who knows what kind of day she's had. It may really have changed her mental outlook. So, little things you can do go a long way.
Yeah. So you're talking about basically like a ripple effect,
That's right.
effect of happiness.
And then the guy goes home and says, I met this crazy woman at the dog park. She shared a joke, but it was really good. And so he shares with his wife, and who knows what kind of day she's had.
Yeah.
But you don't always see or know about the ripple effect. It's just, I love the smile, puts a smile in my heart as well.
So you gave us a couple of examples, but I was wondering because you mentioned that laughter promotes longevity, releases serotonin, releases dopamine. How are some other ways that you know of that people can intentionally bring laughter and joy into their daily life so they can boost their own well-being?
Well, number one, start in the morning with a self-hug, looking in the mirror and telling yourself, I'm happy, whole, and complete, or I love with your name. Because everybody likes the sound of their name. Everybody likes to hear the sound in someone's voice when they appreciate something that you have done. For example, we are so used to texting. We text to make an appointment, to make a phone call. Every single day, make a phone call to some friend that you haven't spoken to in a long time. It could be a business client. It could be a childhood friend. It could be a high school friend. And just say, just thought I'd call. And, I was just reminiscing about some of the good times we had and I hope everything's going well in your life, because it'll put a smile on their face that you thought of them. Also, send a physical card for no reason. Just thinking of you, hope you're having a good day, whatever. You can add a personal note sharing about an experience you shared or sharing some good news about what's going on in your life, because everybody likes physical mail. Everything's become done online. It's just that extra touch. When COVID was going on and we had to stand outside the grocery store and there was always like a lineup, I'd buy a bouquet of flowers and give a flower to everybody standing in line. It would cheer them up. What did it cost me? $5 for a bouquet. And, I had 10 times as many smiles as a result of it.
I have to imagine, Alexi, that you have some incredible emotional resilience for what you've been through in your experiences and always coming up with a smile. So In your experience, what are some, I guess we'll call them practical habits or maybe even rituals that you recommend to build emotional resilience every day when life feels overwhelming?
I suggested the self hug.
Mhm.
And in the morning, before your feet touch the floor, what am I grateful for today? And what is my one goal? Who am I going to put a smile on somebody's face? And at the end of the day, write down 5 things that you were grateful for. Not the things that didn't work, because you can always find 5 things. It just changes your demeanor. You don't go to bed with poor me, I lost this client, I have to take my car in. Just focus on the good stuff. The cashier smiled because of my compliment. I gave my dogs an extra walk. The lady that I shared a joke with really appreciated. My day was productive and I can go to bed resting. Whatever it is, there's always 5 things you can be grateful for, and get your family and friends involved, your coworkers involved, because it really changes your mental outlook, your demeanor. And so when people go into work the next day, they're going to go to work on a more positive note as opposed to, already complaining about what didn't work.
If you're listening to this, there's a good chance you're what I call a sidelined achiever. You know you're capable of more, but right now you feel stuck, setback, or like life has benched you. And maybe it was an injury, a diagnosis, a layoff, a failed business, or maybe even a broken relationship. Something knocked you off your path and left you wondering, what now? How do I even start moving forward again? You're fed up feeling this way, but you don't have a clear roadmap out. Here's what I want you to hear. You are not broken. You are not done. You are not disqualified. You're just sidelined. And sidelines are where legendary comebacks are built. And that's exactly why I created the Rinse Method. It's a framework I used to go from being told I'd never run again to crossing a marathon finish line. Rinse is a simple, repeatable process that helps you build real daily resilience. Turn adversity into momentum, tap into the strength you already have, and hold yourself capable of doing what once felt impossible. If you're tired of being stuck and you're ready to create your comeback, not someday, but starting now, head over to watchmemindset.com.
Alexi, I think that some people listening and watching this may consider what you're saying toxic positivity. And what I mean by that is just being positive all the time and not paying attention to the potentially negative things. But I think what you're saying is something different, that you acknowledge the negative things that have happened in your day or the negative outcomes, but you still find a way, the silver lining in life, you still find a way to pay attention to the positive things that have happened in spite of the negative things that are happening in your life. Would you say that's correct?
Oh, absolutely. We can't focus on the negative because some of the negative you cannot change. When you talk to somebody that you've called them on the phone, first thing they're going to do is, hi, how are you? They're not going to talk about good news. They're going to be complaining about this, that, or the other. So,
Yeah.
Really focus on something positive. They say behind every challenge, there is a nugget to be gleaned. There's a lesson for you to learn. So, for example, Christopher Reeves, when he first had his accident, the person that was very instrumental in helping him change his mindset and get back on his feet, so to speak, was Robin Williams. He came charging into the hospital room wearing a white lab coat and a stethoscope, pretending he was a doctor, speaking in a Hungarian accent. Christopher Reeves said that the happiest 3 months of his life were his last because of the social impact he was able to make on people's lives because of the research he did in spinal cord injury. It wasn't being Mr. Equestrian or being a Superman. The same thing with the woman who lost her daughter to drunk driving. She started mad. She lost her daughter, unfortunately, but look at how her movement has changed thousands of people's lives. So you can always find something positive in anything negative that's happening. Always, always, always.
I love that. Yes, that's the saying that there's always a silver lining in any dark cloud. Sometimes you have to
That's right.
squint to see it, right? But it's always there. Now let's talk about something that you've spoken about before, and that's self-love. For you, why do you think that self-love and positive self-talk are such a powerful tool for persistence when you're dealing with issues in life, especially setbacks?
Negativity is a habit through life circumstances, a habit through the people you associate with, a habit from when you grew up. Maybe you're surrounded by negativity and
Yeah.
nothing works. So it's just a natural flow for me. The negativity you cannot change, or the negative things in your life to a degree, but focus how you can make it better. Like for example, oh, the cost of groceries is so expensive. The cost of gas is so expensive. Be grateful you can pay for it. There's always something to look for that's a positive. You don't focus on the negative. Oh, I cut my finger. Oh, this really hurts, but it's going to heal. There's always something you can flip around to make it positive. One of my favorite quotes by Robin Williams is, he said, I know I made a lot of people happy, but if I only put a smile on one person's face, my life would have been worth living. One person at a time, one ripple at a time. Just
Yeah.
always focus on something positive. And when you start meeting somebody on the street and you smile, you can't help but the other person, I would say most times, they're going to be receptive and smile back at you. Or if you offer them a compliment. I'm walking down the street and somebody is wearing a dress or sweater that I really like, I'll compliment them on them. I'll say, oh, I really like your dress. It would really look good on me too, hint, hint. They can't help but smile. Number one, they're smiling because I gave a compliment. Number two, that I sort of insinuated that it would look good on me too. So like,
Right.
you just never know. You just never know.
You just never know. And what you're talking about, all the examples that you've given so far in this conversation, I think is part of your movement, your make people
Absolutely.
feel better. Tell us a little bit more about that.
Part of it is the joy component. But when did you have an interaction with somebody where you left feeling better? Like you go into a meeting with your boss, if he praises you for the work you've done or gives you a promotion, you feel better. But if he chastises you and criticizes you for what you have done, you leave feeling worse. So even if somebody has done something negative that is maybe not acceptable, always end with something positive to lift their spirits so they don't focus on the negative. So for example, your boss says, you really loused up on that project, but I really appreciate your efforts and let's see how we can work together to make it better. That all sort of comes down to emotional intelligence. When you came home, when you were 10 years old and you got a D in mathematics, what's the thing that your father's going to say? D in mathematics, that's not acceptable. You're grounded. No more TV. Give me your cell phone. Instead, what you say is, D in mathematics, that's not very good. How can we work to make it better the next time? Totally different mindset. Instead of really blaming the person and making them feel really bad because they did something that was maybe not acceptable, ask them, how can we make it better? How can I support you? What's going on in your life? Can I give you some praise? Can I give you a hug? I mean, I'll go up to somebody I don't really know and I'll ask for a hug because I like that really emotional connection, that feeling. It raises my vibration. And by the same token, they enjoy the hug as well. They may think I'm crazy for asking, but that's not the point.
Hugs are great. I love hugs myself. And
Oh,
Alexi,
yeah.
I have to say that I wish you were around 40 years ago because the story you just told is a page from my life. I came home, I don't know, I was in middle school, so around 10-ish or so. And I think I brought home either a C or a D on my report card in math. And my dad, it was same thing. What is this? This is unacceptable. You're grounded.
That's right.
Right? That mindset, how did that make me feel? Number one, I felt this big because now I feel inferior. And number two, that's something I still remember very vividly. And to this day has affected my, I'll say, like, my confidence in math. Like, I've always felt like I've been bad at math because he put that label on me. Like, you should be better. Like, you should understand math. You're a logical person. I don't understand why you're not getting it. And this grade is unacceptable. Grounded. Wow. I wish you were around then to talk to him. Like, no, that's not the way you handle a situation.
Well,
Would have been a lot better for both of us.
Yeah, that's what our parents knew. They didn't know any different. Whereas now research on education and such has come a long way. There's not everybody that is aware of this, but
Mhm.
it makes such a big difference on the child's self-confidence, their morale. And, it's all about working together to help one another. Parent helping a child, not just go do your homework. It's just, how can I help
Yeah.
you? How can I make it better? How can I make it easier? How can I make it enjoyable?
What would you say about staying authentic and grounded in yourself while you're spreading positive energy and humor in the world, especially when you face your own challenges? Like how do you stay, I guess, in your lane of being who you are and staying happy, like no matter what?
I remind myself that I'm important too. I'm doing the best I can. I love me. I have the gift to make a difference in people's lives. It's a gift I've been given.
Mhm.
And so I don't go out and show it. Funny you should ask this subject because I'm just finished a newsletter yesterday about when you're down and out, how can you pull yourself up? Pull yourself up by the same way that you suggest to people. When I take my dogs for a walk is to go hug a tree because a tree is very grounding. And I always get this voice in my head that gives me like little nuggets or suggestions or whatever. As crazy as it sounds, I tell you, I always look for a tree that I can hug when I'm out on my walks. Always,
I love that.
self-talk. Don't focus on the negative self-talk, focus on the positive self-talk. How would you speak to your best friend if she's down and out? So you are your best friend,
Take
uplifting
the advice
information.
that you would give somebody else.
That's right, exactly. And it's by the same token, treat everybody else like you would treat your best friend. So you don't chastise somebody, you don't criticize
Mm.
somebody, you're not rude to
Mhm.
somebody. Treat them like you would your best friend.
Alexi, all of what you're saying, to me at least, sounds like you are teaching lead with love.
Absolutely lead with love. It makes such a big difference in your
Yeah.
life.
For some of us, including myself, especially at certain times, that's hard to do, to lead with love, because we get inundated with negativity from everywhere, right? From
Hmm.
social media, from the news, from conversations with people. Like you said, when you start off a conversation with somebody, how's it going? There's a good chance that they're going to start off giving you all the things that aren't going well, right? They start the conversation with, well, this is going on and that's going on. I got to deal with this. What is a way that I guess you can protect yourself? Like if you have like an energy barrier around you that protects you from the negativity, how do we create that positive barrier, if you will? I'll use an old adage from when we were kids to make ourselves rubber and not glue and have that negativity bounce off of us.
Well, just remember that everybody's on their own journey and everybody's fighting their own battle. Maybe take some time off, breathe. If you're into prayer, say a quick prayer, God, give me the strength. One book I really like to reference when people are having challenges is The Four Agreements. Be impeccable with your word, always do your best, don't take it personally, don't make assumptions. That's my go-to in many circumstances. And everybody, I highly recommend you adopt this because it really changes the way you will focus, what you think, what you say. Be impeccable with your word. That includes don't be rude, don't be ignorant, always do your best. We're doing the best we can.
Mhm.
Sometimes we falter, but just focus, be your best. And not everybody is as versed or educated or knowledgeable as you. So don't make assumptions that they should know better or they're stupid or, like just don't make judgments. We're all on this earth plane trying to work together as communities, as countries. We've got a long way to go.
We do. So just for me and for everybody else as well, what were those four pillars again? Be impeccable with your words.
Always do your best.
Always do your
Don't
best.
make assumptions
Don't make
and don't take
assumptions.
it personally.
And don't take it personally. Okay. Words to live by, for sure. And for someone who's gone from being diagnosed with cancer to being homeless to now just spreading joy just because it's in your heart, that is awesome. And Alexia, I appreciate you. And you are
Mhm.
definitely a soldier in the army of the light, spreading happiness, spreading laughter, spreading joy. And we need more people like you. So I appreciate you joining us and sharing that with us. How can our listeners and viewers find out more about you and what you offer?
I would suggest, number one, my best go-to is LinkedIn. I'm the only Alexi Bracey on there. You can subscribe and listen to my newsletters. You can always, email me, and I'll send you a poster on some tips on what you can do on a daily basis to increase your resilience and your joy status. And I'll give you a quiz too, just to see what your joy robbers may be, because we all have them. We're all conditioned. We don't realize that, we have these negative things we're accustomed to complaining about, whatever, like focus on the positive, because there's always things that are in the positive. Just focus and be grateful for what you have and how you can make the people around you, your workplace, at home, just a little bit better with a little joy in their life, because everybody will appreciate it. They may not say so, but everybody will. And just really focus on the positive, because focusing on negativity is a habit. We focus our thoughts every day. We repeat the same thoughts 90% of the time through the day, and 60% of them at least are negative. I mean, that's a horrible ratio, so really make it a point to focus on the positive. Somebody started this movement, and I have this bracelet that I used to wear. It was a 30-day challenge, and every time you said something negative, the bracelet was like a rubber band, like a thicker rubber band. And every time I said something negative, I pulled the rubber band just to remind myself. It's a habit. It's totally a habit.
Well, and habits can be broken, that's for sure.
Right, that's right. Like, for example, a 4-year-old girl goes with her grandfather for ice cream and cookies on Sunday afternoons. And one Sunday afternoon, he's sick in bed. So he asked Grandma to take the little girl. So off the two of them go, come back in a couple hours. She goes running up to Grandpa's room, and he says, "How was that?" And she says, "We didn't see any horses, asses, sons of bitches, or tree huggers. All Grandma did was wave and smile. It was really boring." So as cute as it is, it's not, because at an early age, she's being taught to look for the negative.
We round this conversation out with a joke at the end, and I love that. That's perfect. What we're going to do is we'll make sure that we put your LinkedIn information and your email in the show notes so everybody can know how to reach out to you and contact you. And again, Alexi, I want to thank you for joining us today. And I want to thank our listeners and viewers, as always, for joining us as well. And we'll end it like we always do. Stay positive, stay persistent, and remember, mindset is everything. And we'll see you next time.
Right. Thank you very much.
Thank you for tuning in and being part of the Positive Persistence family. We're having a great time creating this content, and we truly hope it inspires you to embrace positivity and persistence in your own journey. If this podcast episode inspired you or entertained you, scroll down, hit those stars, and leave a comment or two. Your 5-star reviews and shares encourage us and help us grow the show. So until next time, stay positive, stay persistent, and remember, mindset is everything.